Hello, going to be your live in about few minutes, few seconds. Just if all of you can hear clearly. So I'm super excited because I have somebody with whom I wanted to do this for a really long time. We've been planning for a really long time. So yes, it's going to be 4 and we are live. Hi, welcome back to another interesting LinkedIn Live with GoFloaters. My name is Soundhariya. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of GoFloaters. Thank you so much for all your patronage. I have with me the man himself, Shyam Sundar Nagarajan, founder and CEO of GoFloaters. The man himself, I said it right. Having said that, today we are going to be revealing secrets of something that we've been working for a really long time, Shyam.
Yeah,
Putting our
yeah,
heads
yeah.
over the last some years, some months, I would say, and working tirelessly to what it is that has been supporting um, companies, teams, and professionals across not just India but across the world, trying to sort out their hybrid work problem. Now,
Yeah.
before we say all of that, today we are going to be revealing that secret, but with in few minutes we are going to do that. I want to ask you questions like I always do. There is no intro, extra, and all of that. We are going to jump right into the questions. Sham, what is missing in the current stream of remote first, remote companies, remote friendly companies, work from home providing companies? What is
Right.
missing?
See, I think I just want to kind of hybrid work, right? It is like a question paper that every company got dealt with, and the funny part is that the question paper did not even have questions. It was a blank sheet of questions, a question paper with blank pages, and you had to write answers in another blank sheet, right? So in the sense that it was new to everybody, right? It was new to by and large most of the companies on the planet, right? Only few had any experience coming into it before. But I think the one, I mean. At the same time, so I would have in the first couple of years of the pandemic and just around the beginning of 2022, I think it is fair to give every company a little bit of a long rope in terms of what they would what they would want to do with if they call themselves a hybrid remote company or remote first company, right? I would have given them a little bit of a long rope in kind of figuring that out because, like I said, the question paper itself was blank. But now, what surprises me is like a lot of companies continue to call themselves a remote company or a remote pro remote company or a hybrid remote company, but all they seem to be doing is like they are just. I mean, they're okay with people working from home, or they're okay with people working from anywhere. Hey, I've given you a laptop. Maybe I'm reimbursing you the internet bandwidth, internet lines there. Some companies have given away chairs to people. Some companies have reimbursed some expenses on buying stuff, right? Maybe a headphone and all that, right? But again, 2023, is that still hybrid remote, right? I mean, you've got to kind of be kidding there, in my opinion. Again, sorry if I'm coming across very strongly worded here, but it's like kind of saying that, hey, you work for my company, but I'll not give you my email ID, right? You work with your Gmail ID or Yahoo ID. I mean, is that how are you? So my question is like, gone are the times when you just uh, let people remotely work. I think the time is now to enable people to remotely work, right? I mean, that's the next step because everybody knows. I mean, there's enough data now available out in the last 3-4 years of the pandemic that employees feel better when they are at co-working spaces or are at the office, meeting other people. Loneliness is much lesser. The career growth of people are better when they meet other people occasionally and they sit together and work. Team bonding is better, team engagement is better, and all that. So why would a company stop at just saying that we are remote and not do anything about it? Why would they not enable that? Is a question that I would strongly pose to the fraternity. But yeah, I mean, to me, a company can call themselves remote or hybrid remote or pro remote only when they go beyond just amending policies for enabling people to work from home. They have to go a level further and start enabling people to work remotely and help solve for different problems that individuals face and teams face. They have to make a conscious effort in doing that.
I'm going to stop you right there because you said we have to go one step further. Now we have to go beyond the bus pass that we used to get from the for the buses, or we used to get transportation reimbursements after submitting the
Yeah.
bills and the in the Excel sheets, right?
Right.
Those were the days. But in today, what is that one step further for companies who claim to be remote friendly, hybrid, or whatever they want to call
Right.
themselves, right? Especially in the remote space.
Yeah.
What is that one step ahead?
Okay, so I'll come to the part that we as in GoFloaters falls in first, right? But I think there are a lot of things that need to be relooked at in a remote company, right? So right from communication policy, how is the top management communicating? What are you setting up for that, right? How are you kind of enabling managers to manage remote teams, right? How do you because uh, how do I say, right? It's difficult for somebody to switch from a non-remote setup to a remote setup, right? So first is enabling your team, communicating appropriately in terms of what remote means to that company, and what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and so on and so forth, right? But then coming to the aspects that where we help companies directly is that. And again, this is the place where we are very close to the ground. We are kind of
Right,
smelling the rubber every day almost, right? Is that
right,
companies have to, like I said, the one step beyond is to start helping people at the least is have an open policy saying that, hey, if you go and book a co-working space, or if you go to an office space nearby and use it for a day, or if you go to a cafe, I mean, whatever it is, right? Because what is near home, right? I will reimburse that, right? It's my ownership to give you a place to work, right? I mean, that's what companies used to do, right? Office was the company's responsibility pre-pandemic, right? If you were in an office company, office was your responsibility. Employees were not paying for the office, they were not paying the rent, right? An employer has to provide the office. So in the remote world as well, an employer has to, at least at the bare minimum, have a written policy to reimburse such expenses that employees have to face, right? If an employee decides to go to a co-working space and work, or whatever is the nearest for them, at least that's the bare minimum, right? This, if okay, that's the next level would be to kind of sign up for any co-working passes that co-working players offer. WeWork offers one, 91 Springboard offers one. Many people offer that, right?
we offer one.
I'll come to that, right? I mean, we are obviously the best, right? So yeah, so I'm talking about the second step, right? Second step is to at least bare minimum do that, so that employees don't have to spend and reimburse, because that's like a little friction that you don't want to add unnecessarily, right? You don't. I mean, nobody wants to spend, keep the bills and reimburse. It's like a pretty. I mean, I remember all these hard days from my prior corporate world. That I mean, 90% of the time I'll probably be hunting for the bills and have to submit a reimbursement process, right? So anyway, that's the second step, right? Third step is like, again, this is where we come in, right? So where you sign up with like platforms like us. There are other platforms, don't want to name them, but we are not certainly the only one. There are in fact quite a few platforms globally available that are also having presence in India. So sign up with these, and like make it open to your employees that, hey, this is available to you, right? I mean, I enable you to uh, find a place to work, or find a place to sit with a colleague and work, find a place to socialize, right? Find a place for you to be amongst your own kind. If you're a designer, I'm enabling you to I mean, grow in your career, because you have to know what other designers in the world do, right? And you kind of have to have a social network there, right? So I enable you to do that through providing a platform through which team members can book and use. And obviously, you don't want them to spend first and reimburse and things like that, right? So I think those would be the kind of being communicative, and put it as a part of the policy, right? Just saying that I will I mean, I support or work from anywhere is just like a promise ahead of the polls. I mean, Karnataka is getting into polls. Soundhariya, you hail from that state. I mean, so it's like making a poll promise, but then are you delivering on that promise, right? So is the truth of the proof of the pudding, and many companies kind of fail to do that.
Now, having said all of this, right, I still remember the bill days, the mobile bill especially, and the bus bills. So, having said all of this, right, one, it's a nightmare for the employees. Two, it's going to be really difficult for the managers or to anybody. It's going to be a daunting task to figure out how this is going to work. But interestingly, that set aside, right? Interestingly, there is an entire generation, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen XYZ, whatever we might call, they have never been to an
Yeah,
office,
yeah,
right? There is an awe about, something, a magic about having an office environment, working with your colleagues, and all of that. Uh, how would you say this is going to sort out this particular hybrid formula is actually a way ahead for the generation that hasn't seen an actual office environment? I'm not talking about a campus or a real
Right,
estate,
right.
but I'm talking about an office
Yeah.
environment.
See again, yeah. So an office environment is much more than the four brick walls and the roof on top, right? So what is it to be in a team? What is it to kind of be aligned to one vision of the company, or what being aligned to one mission of the team that you're part of, right? What is it to understand team dynamics, right? What is it to understand give and take that happens in the team, right? What is it to understand to kind of uh, work towards a deadline, right? And there's a lot of knowledge that is uh, uh, tacit, right? In the sense that any company, any team, you can only document so many things. You can only put videos on so many things as to, hey, this
Right,
is the sales process, this is the operations SOP, this is the process for hiring somebody. I mean, you can only document so many things, right? A lot of things
right.
people learn on the job, right? And again, and that's another topic altogether, right? Do we I mean, employability of candidates that come out of college, right? Companies spend thousands and thousands and millions of hours and money because a graduate is not an employee de facto, right? A graduate is not.
Absolutely.
So there is a gap to go through, right? And the gap to go through is much more difficult to do it in remote. I'm not saying that companies are not pulled it off remote. You need to put a lot more conscious effort to solve that onboarding of new employees, right? Making them what working for a company actually means. And unfortunately, I mean, at least two, three batches of graduates have joined companies where they don't even know. uh, I mean, for them, like somebody like you on a laptop is like, I mean,
Office.
on a video call is office, right? And I'm sure like they're missing out on a lot of things, right? So and again, the that those formative years of a person who's joining a new, uh, I mean, who's beginning a new phase of their life, right? A career they're starting. Uh, I think there's a lot more conscious effort that people have to put in, companies have to put in to make sure that they are able to give those experiences to those people, right? To be a part of a team, to learn from other people who are in the team, to be alert, right? To not let the ball drop, right? I mean, I can go back to recount so many instances where like the magic happens, right? When the team comes together, right? Uh, like it's like the Lagan, right?
The
Lagan.
manager and the employee, they work together. There is so much of learning between themselves, right? For
Absolutely.
example,
See, again,
yeah, the
each of us, right? Each of us have, whether we accept it or not, have looked at somebody and have modeled our careers on by looking at a leader,
absolutely.
right? So we've kind of, I can tell, like Sukumar, there's so many people, Muthu, Kumaran, Balamurali, Shankar. There's so many people where Dinesh Maru, right? Look, I mean, these are people I call as in from my career, right? So we have all imbibed certain aspects of each of them. In fact, I mean, a lot of people call me that I don't get angry with people because I've seen Dinesh Maru is like, he's like a rock. I mean, he will not, if hell breaks loose also, he'll say, okay, I'm here, we'll take care of it, right? It's no problem. So he's, I mean, I have kind of tried to become calm by looking at him, right? But how are you things through like being I mean, on video, right? You can't do that, right? So that's, I mean,
Right.
again,
You never, most of the time you never get to learn those traits over videos, but it is when you start developing that relationship in person.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, right. And a lot of these things happen outside of the meetings, right? You see them handle things, you overhear something, you hear the grapevine that somebody was facing having a trouble, and this is how this was solved, or some other project in some other part of the building had this problem, and this is how the leader solved it. You hear a lot of things, a lot of stories, right? And stories make culture of a company, right? I mean, you document. I mean, what is Indian culture? Right? It's a bunch of stories that we all like say. This is what culture of India. This is the heritage of India being, right. So those stories, in my opinion, don't get captured first and foremost, and secondly, in a remote, completely 100% remote setting, and those stories don't travel, right? They don't travel the distance, right? They stay within that team, but they don't cross pollinate and affect and impact other people in the organization. So, which is why I feel like hybrid remote uh, is not just about saying that, hey, whenever you want to come to office, you come. Whenever you want to be at home, be there, right? It's beyond just that, right? You kind of have to think about a lot of things, and it's a responsibility for every manager, for every new employee who's joining their teams, and specifically for HR, is that you are responsible for their careers from then on, right? You're kind of, I mean, giving them the foundations to grow, and are you doing the right thing? Is a question that has to be answered.
Now, I want to add one more question to your answer, right? Um, we've been talking about how the work hybrid culture should be and so on, right? What we should be learning from each other, how this environment should be, and all of that. But what exactly, we all know that there is a demand for hybrid work as a culture, right? But what exactly is the demand for the hybrid work from a corporate, from an enterprise, or from a team's perspective? What do you think is the need of the market of the hour?
Um, so I'll probably, like, we'll come to the now the secrets revealed, right? The part of it. Let's start revealing.
The secret is yet to be
Yeah,
revealed,
we'll
but
come to that,
yes,
right? But again, all I'm trying to say is, like, so, like I said, even us, right? Even GoFloaters, we didn't know how this is going to shape up, right?
right,
We've learned what is working for people by being part of this journey of many companies, many corporates that we have been fortunate enough to help them with their rollouts, right? So basically, I think fundamentally, right, the beginning of the pandemic, and through the pandemic, and even the aftermath of the wave 3 and all that, uh, what we have seen is, like, uh, now solving individual problems is, there are set of problems that had to solve for the individual, for the employee, right? So, but I think it's beyond just the infra, right? Just by giving them a desk, reimbursing like a 10,000 rupee desk, and giving them a 4,000 rupee chair, and 2,000 rupees noise cancelling headphone is not infrastructure, right? Like, that's like, I mean, yeah, it's good, right? It's a good. I'm not.
that's probably like the basic any office
Yeah,
should
it's like
be
giving a laptop to
giving.
your employee to work, right? I mean, you would have given them a laptop. You would have given them. Some companies give phones, right? But it's like kind of giving them the basic infra, right? So it's a basic setup, right? Uh, but then now there are like a lot of software aspects is what companies are now actually. I mean, for the companies that we work with, they are very very serious about specifically. I mean, we talked about the COVID pass outs, right? So they're specifically worried about helping them grow in their careers, right? Helping them understand different roles of the company, different departments within the company, right? Because you get recruited for, let's say, an operations lead, right? I'm an operations executive, right? Or operations associate. But this operations is like one gear in the gear of, like, the machine of the company, right? How do you make them
Absolutely.
understand where do you fit in, right? And where vis-a-vis what are the rest of the companies, right? So companies are really serious about uh, I mean, every individual trying to understand what it is, what makes up this company, right? What makes up this business, right?
Right.
They are very, they want to have mentor-mentee relationship with, like, for employees to have, right? So where you look up to somebody, you kind of bounce your anxieties or bounce your aspirations to somebody, and you're able to get their inputs on it, on your questions and ideas, right? So this is like, and then you want to solve for social aspects of, like, every human being wants to be uh, amongst other people of a similar kind. They want to,
Right.
so all that, right? And then finally, growth opportunities, right? How, I mean, and in all these, right? If you see, it's not just the individual, right? As the individual does better, the company obviously also is going to indirectly do better, right? So if a let's say, again, an operations executive or a customer support person understands the business better, understands the customers better, understands the stories within the company better, right? What does the company stand for? They're going to be much better in
Results.
it's
Yeah.
going to be better with delivering their results, right? And they're going to be able to grow faster. They're going to be able to take up more responsibility because they understand better. They're able to gear themselves for like larger and larger things in life, right? So that's like one part of the individual responsibilities, right? The second thing that we see companies solving for, which actually has increased in the last 6, 7, 8 months, is like, obviously, one is team collaboration, right? The fundamental thing is, like, the team how to collaborate better, because they, I mean, one head of culture at an organization, a very large organization, said that, uh, I mean, they see a lot of friction arising, right? And a lot of people are brushing this friction under the carpet, because you can't kind of dissolve this friction on a video call or a Zoom call, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you've got to, but then you can't. The carpet can only hold so much. At some point in time,
Yes.
the carpet is going to blow off or burn off, right? So the friction is going to kind of
Right.
jump at you. Uh, I mean, with 10 heads, right? So you've got to solve for that friction faster, right? And you can solve it. Uh, I'm going to steal somebody else's tagline, but like everything can happen over a cup of coffee, right? So you kind of solve it by creating multiple touch points where people can diffuse this friction, right? And that diffusing of friction can happen only in a casual kind of a conversation, not in a serious business meeting. You can't solve for that, right? And yeah, so that is second thing, right? And the third part is like again for the new joinees and also for people from different teams, right? Now a lot of employers are saying that these two teams don't go hand in hand, right? Because for you, if
Right.
you're drawing a feature launch, your product team, your engineering team, your testing team, your marketing team, probably your communications team, right, and your sales team, everybody has to come together to launch a new feature into the market or a new product into the market, right? It's not like one person's one team's job, right? So now they're solving for the higher order problem where teams, how do you kind of create a cohesive environment amongst teams? So a lot companies have started to offsite, bring people from different teams together, right? And they are able to create a cohesive environment. So again, when you're able to put a face to the name over a video call, if you're able to put, you're able to recollect that you had a peg of beer with that person like just 3 weeks back, right? A lot of friction, a lot of like you start to behave differently than somebody who
Right.
you've been only remote and you don't know this person, right? You don't associate with this person any longer, right? You don't know the story of that person, right? You appreciate people better when you know the story of them. And
You make your own judgments when you're not. Uh,
we are beings, I mean, by definition, right? And first impression, like they say, is the best impression. So if the first impression is formed wrong way in a remote setup, right? It's difficult to kind of solve for that, how much ever you try and make them come together.
Right. So now, having said, having defined what is the kind of need in the hybrid that is missing in the market, right? Um, what is the easiest way or the most, I would say, beneficial way for a company to go?
Okay. See, I mean, so the fun, the hybrid. I mean, hybrid is kind of answers the question, right? So
Right.
in a hybrid setup, the combination of remote and physical spaces is the one that's going to solve for many of these things that we talked about, right? But then the
Right.
problem really that many companies think is that hybrid is going to be extremely difficult because they start thinking about how do I bring everybody from all parts of India to one place, right?
Right.
Or if I could, in a lot of cases, right? I think uh, I think the biggest evil in this process, and probably in many other things that companies try to do, is like uh, they look for the lowest common denominator, right? So I want something,
Right.
right? Then if it can't work for everybody, I can't implement it, right? So they talk, okay, my Bangalore members can do this, but then how about somebody who's living in Guwahati, right? I mean, how do I cover
Right.
that? So by finding an effective way to cover that one person in Guwahati, you kind of give everybody else the bad experience of not being able to come to this. So
Yes.
it's like kind of see start
Yes.
somewhere, right? And you can't like I mean you can't have like millions of kilometers of road laid on one day, right? If you can't connect, why should Vande Bharat train only run between Bangalore and Chennai, right? Why can't it run between Kanyakumari? You would say if only when I connect Kanyakumari and Chennai will I connect. Then it's a mute point,
No.
right? You have to start somewhere, right? The first brick has to be put before you put the roof. But then people say I can't bring everybody under the same roof, so I would not do this. I've had many companies say this, right? And obviously like I have a ulterior motive to sell them something, right? But then the point is, right? So it's like, hey, only when I can do it, I can do this, right? So I'm not, that's a mute point. You have to start something, right? So that's number one. Number two, that uh, I mean, so maybe they don't know. They come from come from a very traditional thinking of real estate, right? So thinking, okay, what will be the cost to have a 10-seater office in Bangalore, right? Or what if I have a 20-seater
Yeah.
office in Bangalore? I don't know. What if like people pay 50 seats? I mean, so I think the kind of talking about GoFloaters and specifically GoFloaters WorqFlexi is that uh, newer problems need newer approaches to solve them, right? If you start, I mean, I have
Right.
a hammer and I chisel, right? But then you don't know there's something called axe that got invented after that. Right? You're not going to do everything as a carpenter, right? You've just been working with chisel and hammers, right? You're going to do other things. So a lot of HRs need to also, and again, I probably I'm naming HRs and admin probably, right? They also have to equip themselves with what's happening in the commercial real estate world, right? What are the new innovations and newer various ways in which people are coming up with different solutions to it, right? Only when you know that, you can look at how can you solve for that in your company situation, right? I'm kind of very surprised that people are just not even aware that you can book a meeting for a few hours, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like kind of telling that, hey, I didn't know mobile phones existed, or I didn't know smartphones existed. I only thought you have to go to the PCO booth and make a phone call, right? I mean, boss, grow up.
That kind of a rehearsal would have sorted a lot of problems for many companies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, see, the thing is like, if you hear, I mean, okay, you didn't prepare yourself. Great, fine, that's okay. I mean, I know you. I'm not saying that I mean, everybody's struggling to kind of in the remote setup and all that, but like employees are, like, you like it or not, they are doing this without asking you.
Yes.
So I mean, you can look at our data, right? There are tons and tons
Yes.
of employees of various companies who are using GoFloaters, and I'm very sure that 99% of them are not telling their employer or the manager about this. And maybe they don't care about getting reimbursed also, because hey, I feel better by coming to a co-working space, right? I am able to do my work better, right? I don't want to do midnight soil and like struggle to work from home and be distraction free, right? In a lot of cases, both the spouses are working, so it's difficult to establish a physical boundary at home. So one of them steps out to work, right? So you're not like the clashes don't come in, right? So I mean, just look at your employees, right? Employees are doing this whether you like it or not, right? I mean, so I mean, if you're a good listener, right, as a leader, then you would know that people want it, right? And just by seeing, I mean, yeah. Anyway, so I know I'm getting a little emotional about this, but
No.
those are things, right? I think you've got to move on, right? You've got to look at how newer ways of solving newer problems. You can't like solve it with old knowledge that you acquired like 5 years back.
So, we've spoken about how hybrid is helped and how companies need to adapt themselves to the newer models vis-a-vis the traditional real estate models that we have had. Now, having said that, hybrid has gone beyond just going to the office campus or figuring out what to do in their personal front, because everybody has practical and genuine reasons. But Sham, because the companies are distributed, employees are in different location,
Right.
or they have a small team, and some companies don't feel the need.
Right.
So we have so many other combinations of companies that is there in the market. So how do we address this problem in the market, or how are we trying to sort this out?
So I think the, um, I kind of have this simple philosophy on this, right? Uh, it's difficult for you to solve it when you try to kind of do it theoretically on paper and presentations and Excel spreadsheets, right? So I think the easiest thing is to try, right? Because I can tell you, right? So again, looking at the first 10 to 20 to 15 companies that we signed up
Right.
in on WorqFlexi, right? All of them, barring maybe two of them, maybe 13 of them, right? Which is 13 out of 15 is still a big percentage, right? All of them were pleasantly surprised by the fact on how many people came, use this feature, use the capability to come and use, because like going in, right? I don't know how many. I don't know if my teams will need this, right? They're all comfortable working from home. Nobody would want to come to the office, right? We are finding it difficult to convince them to come to the office. So there are a lot of like ifs and buts and all that. I mean, you can never solve ifs and buts on a PPT or an Excel, and
Right.
right, you can't figure out a formula there, right? And even though we can see headline to this, saying that there's a secret formula. There's no formula, right? You've got to try, right? You've got to put it out there, right? And take that childlike innocence, right? Hey, I'm going to give like 5 colors or 5 crayons to my kid, right? And let me see, right? And what worst is going to happen, right? You're going to like pay for 5 crayons and they're not going to be used, right? They're going to be whatever, right? So that's what the worst can happen, right? So the point is, like, I think every company that is uh, try to solve it through a series of experiments have actually succeeded in doing that, right? The companies that have
Absolutely.
tried to put all their MBA knowledge and all this Harvard reports and Forbes reports, and they like worry about everything, and they want that unique formula to come out of this brainstorming, are still stuck. They're still in status quo, right? Because you can't solve for it, right? So I think taking some of these companies, right? And take an example of a company that we work with. They thought maybe like only 10 employees would sign up, right? But then they had like 200 employees signing up in the first 1 week, right? And almost 80% of the employees signed up in the first 1 month of rolling this hybrid remote through GoFloaters WorqFlexi, right? They were like pleasantly surprised, right? And obviously the budget shot up, but then if you're trying to solve, right? Solve for this collaboration problem, solve for the individual problem, solving for friction, solving for better culture in your company, right? You've got to do experiments. So I think the secret formula. I know I'm kind of.
No. Do not reveal that secret formula.
Basically, basically
Do
it's
not
like
reveal that
don't try
secret
to
formula
solve
yet.
don't try to solve it comprehensively, right? Try to experiment, run series of experiments. Fortunately, platforms like us, we give a lot of data back, right? We show,
Right.
who's using it where, right? Which tier 2 versus tier 1 marketing team versus, we give a lot of data, right? So the data will help you figure out what is working and what's not working, right? And you kind of constantly test different hypotheses and then kind of go about doing it, right? A lot of will my women workforce use this, because they've taken, like, they have a lot of domestic responsibility, but hey, we saw that women were using this more than men in a few companies, right? And so
Yes.
basically the ifs and buts will always be there, right? And if you, till you see the real data, you can't, you can't claim that you will figure out a solution by just thinking on top of it, right? And that's, like I said, right, the question paper is blank, the answer sheet is blank, right? Now the only way to do it is like take one step at a time and start asking, if I do this, what will happen, right? If I do this, what will happen, right? And you try to build it's like a Lego piece, right? You kind of build this piece by piece.
So now I'm going to stop you right there because we can go hours together for it, but I wanted to keep this conversation short. But probably in the next week, we are going to discuss more about from the enterprise, corporate, and teams perspective, because we've spoken so much about employee experience and we had so much about pro employee in this conversation. But we are going to be talking about how this has made life easy for the companies, teams, and managers.
Sure.
So, on that note, thank you so much for all the audience who's joined and who are going to be viewing this particular video. Thank you, Shyam, for your time. I know it's a busy time. I stole away that few minutes from you, but thank you so much. It was a lot clear about what that need is in the market, why hybrid is the way to go, and why, from the employee's perspective, this is the most needed kind of a tool for the hybrid employees, especially. Thank you so much for joining in. We will see you in the next session of this, but we are sure to continue this secret revealing session. Thank you so much.
Yep. Hey, thanks, Haunt. I think no. Absolutely, because these are things that we talk about a lot, but when
Yes.
you verbalize that, when you put it out in the world, I hope that this kind of transcends into actions and transcends into things that at least I feel is the true, is the true way to do it, right? And then if it can even open up the thought process in a few people's minds, it's a great achievement per se, right? And again, the thing, I think, in a way, I think from GoFloaters, I feel that we've got a lot of responsibility because we are having a hot seat inside this revolution of what's happening today, right? In terms of how people are working and how different companies are forming different work models, some succeeding, some. I think we've got the responsibility to tell the story to others, right? Because like we've kind of, it's like Valmiki, right? Who penned down the story and he's seeing the story revealed in front of him and he's penning it down. So I think we've got that responsibility, and I know I'm kind of comparing ourselves with that stature, but I'm just saying that, I mean, it's like a commentator, right? We are, I mean, cricket matches happening. I mean, I'll probably take a better example, right? Cricket matches happening in front of you. We are seeing the match. Uh, I think their responsibility is to be a commentator so that more people can hear and learn from that and get excited about how they could put some of these ideas to use in their own companies. Yeah, I mean, super exciting that way. Thanks.
Absolutely, because stories make the change. On that note, thank you so much. Good evening. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.